Austin Carter never believed in love. Not in the traditional sense, anyway. He had seen too much of it turn sour. Growing up in a small town in North Carolina, he watched his parents' marriage crumble under the weight of unspoken words and empty promises. He'd seen friends fall in and out of love like it was some kind of sport, and he'd watched relationships that started with fireworks end in cold silence. So he bet on it. He'd never fall in love. And for years he stuck to his bet. He focused on his career, his friends, and his ambitions, keeping his heart tucked away safely from the chaos of love. But when he met her, he never stood a chance. It was a late Tuesday afternoon when Austin walked into the coffee shop. The place, nestled on the corner of a busy street in downtown Charlotte, was a sanctuary for him, a place to escape the stress of his high-powered job as a corporate lawyer. It was supposed to be just another pit stop, a quick coffee before heading back to the office. But then he saw her. She was sitting by the window, a book in her hands, with her head bent down just slightly as if the world outside didn't exist. Her blonde hair, slightly tousled, framed her face, and the soft light of the late afternoon sun made her seem almost ethereal. She wasn't the kind of woman who drew attention with loud colours or extravagant gestures. No, there was a quiet grace about her. She was the kind of woman who captured attention without even trying. He didn't know why, but he felt compelled to walk over to her. "Excuse me," Austin said, clearing his throat as he stood awkwardly by her table. "Is this seat taken?" She looked up, her bright green eyes meeting his. A smile played at the corners of her lips. "No, it's all yours." Austin hesitated for a moment before sitting down, feeling suddenly self-conscious. He wasn't the type of man to approach strangers, especially not women, but something about her presence made it hard to ignore her. "I'm Austin," he said, offering his hand. "I couldn't help but notice. You look like you're in another world over here." Her eyes twinkled with amusement. "I suppose I am. I'm Lydia. I'm just getting lost in this book." "Ah," Austin said, glancing at the book in her hands. "What's it about?" Lydia closed the book slowly and looked at him with a playful glint in her eyes. "Well, it's about a man who refuses to believe in love because he thinks it's a trap. But then, he meets someone who makes him question everything he thought he knew." Austin felt a strange lump form in his throat. It felt like she was speaking directly to him. "Sounds familiar," he said, his voice tinged with irony. Lydia chuckled. "I think that's why I'm enjoying it so much. It's always fascinating when the universe aligns like that." Austin laughed, albeit nervously. This was all too easy. Too comfortable. "So, what about you?" Lydia asked. "What's your story?" Austin took a deep breath. He wasn't one to open up, especially not to a woman he just met in a coffee shop. But there was something about Lydia that made him want to. "Well, I guess I'm a man who doesn't believe in love," he said, almost under his breath. "I've seen it fail too many times. My parents, my friends, it just never seems to work out." Lydia's expression softened, and for a moment she studied him carefully. "I can understand that. But I think that's the thing with love. It's messy, it's complicated, but it doesn't mean it's not worth trying." Austin couldn't help but smile at her optimistic outlook. "You really believe that?" She shrugged slightly. "I think we all have the capacity for love. We just have to open ourselves to it. It's not something that can be forced." Austin's heart raced in a way he couldn't quite explain. The conversation felt effortless, and yet it stirred something inside him, something he had buried deep down. As the days passed, Austin found himself thinking about Lydia more than he'd ever admit. She was always on his mind, the way her hair caught the light, the way her laughter made his chest tighten, the way her eyes seemed to see right through him. But he still couldn't shake the feeling that love wasn't meant for him. It was a Friday evening when his best friend, Nick, invited him out for drinks. As always, Nick was eager to get Austin out of his head and into some fun. "So tell me, man," Nick said, taking a long sip of his beer. "You still keeping that bet up?" Austin smirked. You mean the never fall in love bet? Of course. Nick raised an eyebrow. You're seriously not going to let some woman change your mind? Austin shook his head. No way. I've seen how it ends. Love's just a distraction. Nick chuckled. Man, you've been holding on to that thing for too long. I bet you've never even really been in love. Austin paused, the words hitting a little harder than he expected. He shrugged it off. I've had my share of relationships, they just never lasted. Well, I think I'm going to take you on that bet, Nick teased. You haven't even met the right woman yet. Austin shook his head, the idea of falling for someone still feeling like a joke to him. But then, a thought crossed his mind. Maybe he could make it more interesting. Okay, he said, leaning in. I'll make you a deal. If I fall in love by the end of the year, I'll take you out for dinner. But if I don't, you owe me a trip to the Caribbean. Nick grinned. Deal. Austin didn't expect to lose. In fact, he thought it was a bet he couldn't possibly lose. But then, Lydia entered his life in a way that changed everything. The more Austin spent time with Lydia, the more he realized that there was something about her that felt different. It wasn't just her beauty or her optimism. It was the way she made him feel seen. She didn't ask him to be anyone other than who he was. One evening, after a long day at work, Austin found himself walking through the same coffee shop where they had first met. He saw her sitting by the window again, lost in her book. Mind if I join you? He asked, standing in front of her. Lydia looked up and smiled. Of course not. They fell into easy conversation, talking about everything from books to their favorite movies. But the more Austin listened to her, the more he realized that he didn't just want to talk to her. He wanted to know everything about her. A few weeks later, after dinner at a quiet restaurant, Austin walked Lydia to her car. The night air was crisp, and the city lights twinkled around them. He felt a strange weight in his chest, the kind of feeling he had never experienced before. Lydia stopped in front of her car and turned to him. I've really enjoyed getting to know you, Austin. Austin took a deep breath. Lydia, I don't know how to say this, but I think I'm starting to feel something. She looked up at him, her green eyes softening. You mean, you're starting to feel love? He hesitated, his heart racing. Yeah, I guess I am. She smiled gently. I think I've felt it too. And in that moment, Austin knew. The bet, the walls he had built around his heart, they all came crashing down. Austin had never thought he would fall in love, but here he was. And as he looked at Lydia, he realized that love wasn't the trap he had once believed. It wasn't a game, it wasn't a bet. It was real and it was worth every risk. Months later, as Austin stood beside Lydia at their wedding, he couldn't help but think back to the day he made that bet with Nick. He had lost, but it was the best loss of his life, because he had found something far more important than a vacation. He had found the love of his life, and as he looked into Lydia's eyes, he knew he would never bet against love again. So, what happens when a man bets against love and loses? He wins everything. Austin Carter's story is a reminder that love doesn't always arrive the way we expect. Sometimes it shows up when we're convinced it never will. In a coffee shop on a random Tuesday, through quiet conversations, unexpected laughter, and the kind of connection that makes us question everything we once believed. He bet he'd never fall in love. And yet, he did. So maybe, just maybe, it's time we all stop betting against love. Thanks for watching. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who still believes, or needs to believe, in love. See you in the next story.